Well, hey, and welcome to the Creative Corner podcast with Noah Black. I'm your host, Noah, and this week we actually do not have the co-host, so I'm solo in this one out. But I have an incredible guest with me that I know it's gonna be awesome. Just talk to him, man. He is a content creator, comedian. Man, you do like 7,000 things, but I'm joined today by Shama Mrema. So, man, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. It's really, really good to be here.
Yeah. It's
via an Instagram story.
Yeah. That's the way to do it nowadays, man. It's the way to set it up. But yeah, man. So, Shama, I've kept up with a lot of your content, man.
Yeah.
You do content creation, like really funny videos geared very like church culture. Like you do a great job. The way I would describe your comedy style, and I don't want to like narrow you too much, but it's very much in like the parts of church that people like to not acknowledge or like to hide.
Yeah.
And like the funny like little flaws, or like not even necessarily flaws, but just like funny quirks about church culture that's just really great, man. But what initially got you into like that whole side of things, and just really like, man, I love to, get into that side, as well as, you do like rap stuff on the side. You do a whole ton of stuff. So just kind of talk about what all you do and kind of what inspired to get you to that point.
Yeah, man. What got me into it, man? I was just one of those kids who grew up in church, man. My dad was a pastor. I was a missionary kid. I been over, I don't know, man, 500, 700, 800 churches in the Southeast. I went to Bible college. I worked for a church, got fired from a church. So yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. I've done everything except be a senior pastor. But when I got fired from a church, I will say I was like, maybe I should start my own church. Thank goodness. Thank God I didn't. Because it was just like, I was like, man, I need to just find like a middle school cafeteria that's not being used, or like a movie theater.
Yeah.
It would have been over.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's it, man. I just got into it. Into it that way, really. And then I wasn't funny for a long time, but I made videos. And then over time, just kind of found, I don't know, man, found what I wanted to say, how I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Became a better joke writer and script writer. Yeah. And collaborated with a bunch of great people here in Greenville, where I live, South Carolina.
Right.
And yeah, man, we've been an unstoppable little team, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, and that's not too far down the road. It's I'm about 45 minutes outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's not too far. But yeah. So with that too, man, with your content, I remember I listened to a podcast that you were on not too long ago, and you had mentioned part of like with your content creation, how kind of funny full circle it's been with you create, like, you remember the days of like the youth group days, right? The like highlights of life for church people, right? For people in youth group, where like you had the whole like pre-service, there's videos playing of funny videos and stuff, and then now like you're probably the ones that people are playing, like that's what every youth group is playing and stuff. So it's wild.
That's so, man, it's so surreal, because I don't think there's little ego in like the group of people that I get to hang out and create with. So I don't think any of us set out to be like, hey, we're gonna create those pre-services videos. And we've had some big videos like blow up online, but even when we're on set now, I try to tell people, I'm like, don't bring that stuff up. Let's have a great day. Yeah. Let's shoot something. Let's eat Chick-fil-A or whatever we have catered. And then let's put it up. And so the seeing where it's gone, man, is it's crazy.
Yeah, that's so cool. I remember back, so very much like my background is raised in the church, practically from the hospital straight to the pews was what it was for me. And I remember like the highlights of growing up in youth group. I remember I went to student life camp in Daytona, Florida. That's where I'd given my life to Jesus back in 2011. I remember they had, I don't know if you've heard of it, but they had this guy that did Edwin's Corner. he was like
No.
really like was the highlight of the thing, and it was this whole like quirky. He has this like really low budget like camera setup, and like he does all this really stupid stuff. Like if you're listening to this, you gotta click off this, go watch it. But was the highlight of the entire conference was like forget Chris Tomlin, forget Louis Giglio preaching. Like it was those videos that were the highlight. So it was like always the best memories there and stuff. So I loved it. But to take it even further back, man. So you were born in Tanzania, correct?
Yeah.
And then you what was that story like of transitioning over and coming to America, like that whole process for you and your family?
Well, Coming to America sounds like a great movie title. If anybody, out there wants to make a movie. So I was born in Tanzania in '92. My dad, he wanted to move to the U.S. to pursue an education in ministry. Believe it or not, a lot of people migrate to the U.S. for many different things.
Yeah.
But my dad wanted to go to Bible college, and he knew some friends. There were a lot of Tanzanians, a lot of East Africans in general, who were moving to the States.
Right.
To go to Bible college, and so he moved here with a friend. He moved here by himself the year that I was born, and started attending college, and then didn't know if he was going to be able to bring his wife, my mom, and my brother and me. So we were there for 2 years, and then without him while he was here, and then 2 years later he was able to bring us. So so he flew us in, and that's what brought us to the States, man. And we connected with a church and with people who I can credit this conversation that we're having right now to people who I met in 90 when I was 2 years old.
Right.
It's really changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
And my family's life in general. So we moved to the States, and then a lot of East Africans, America's life here is pretty comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, not too many people from a third world country are clamoring to get back home.
Right.
So I didn't remember too much of Africa when I lived here.
Right.
After I moved here. So when my parents told us, hey, we're going to go back, we want to go back to Tanzania as missionaries, they told us that, my brother and my sister, throughout our growing up, like, hey, we're going to go back and be missionaries. Like, we're not going to live here. And so, we just kind of went about thinking, okay, we'll go eventually. And then we connected with an organization and became missionaries. And, and then we went back, and before that, we were telling people, specifically a bunch of Tanzanian and East African friends, hey, we're going back to Tanzania, and everybody was like, why?
Yeah.
And when I got there, I was like 11 years old. So when we got to Tanzania, about a week into our full-time missionary stay, I remember even thinking, like, why?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade that experience, man. I think it really shaped who I am, and the stories and just the kind of stuff that I'm able to make today, because my parents kind of literally dropped everything.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, to move back to the country that they were born.
Yeah. That's so cool. And to hear to think back of, for you, the impact that made of, imagine if, had not come to America, but then also going, the impact of those transitions and stuff, like how it would have been such a different trajectory and a much different, I mean, literally placement wise, physically would have been different, but then just the environments and everything too. And so that's wild.
I will say one thing too is so I'm 29. I got married a little over 2 years ago, and I have 2 kids. My daughter was just born last month.
All that. Yeah, congrats, man.
Yeah, I was actually in here. She was strapped to my chest in some contraption while I was in front of my computer while my wife was taking a shower. But being 29, my dad moved to the States when he was in his early 30s, you know? So I think about life now. Like I think about my history, you know, and my upbringing based on now that I'm closer to my dad's age at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Whoa, that's, you know, that's how he would have felt, you know, because I've got 2 kids now, and I'm like, I wouldn't leave to go to another country, you know. But it's just it's I appreciate. I find myself being a parent, like I appreciate my parents, and specifically the sacrifices and the things and the decisions that they made.
Right.
Now more than ever.
Right.
Yeah, because now I'm like I'm almost at the point where I can relate just a little bit.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so funny, man. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I was definitely going to bring that up of just, you know, you just had, you know, your second child. And so like the experiences of that, like how is that going to influence content creation, like in the future of, you know, the new dad video, like what else coming out of that? Like,
oh man, dude, I've went back and forth, man, like about creating content, family oriented content.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a family vlog. No, I'm just kidding. I'm launching. My son's gonna play with toys, and I'm gonna film him.
That's what gets views nowadays.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, man. I love my family. My wife is not. Her social medias are private. She doesn't. You know, she's all about friends and family on there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I didn't. You know, I remember before we were married, before I even met her, I remember thinking and knowing that I didn't want to date somebody who was like a creator who had a mindset of like this world of like, you know, the analytics, social media, and all this other stuff. I'm like, I want somebody who doesn't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't think we'll ever do any family content. I've done some stuff for my son, and I'll probably do some stuff for my daughter, but consistently, maybe not. But friends have been telling me, he's like, you gotta make a video, like a song about dads. And I'm like, not everybody's a dad. Yeah. So one day, but you know, maybe we'll see, man. Maybe once I dive into that to full dad life, you know, of I don't know, when I plant grass.
when you're wearing jorts and Crocs.
Yeah. Maybe when I'm at that point, then I'm like, wait a second, I need to make some family oriented content right about now.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny. And I love just to dive into some of your, like, when you go into creating content. I know there's some, like, you work like. It's very much like it's just you in the video. There's times where you have a lot of, like, a collective of people. So whenever you go into creating a video, like what sparks that, what inspires that in a lot of those settings, and then how does that, like, collaborative effort with other people also help?
Yeah, so I write, and I've written with a good friend of mine. I'd say my writing partner, Paul David Bachman, Paul David, aka PD. And I've known him since he just turned 21. I've known him since he was like 11.
Yeah.
I was his youth pastor for a stint there, but I was a volunteer in youth ministry.
Right.
So he's just one of those dudes who I've known for a long time, and he's like, it's just like a different thinker, you know, a little more whimsical.
Right.
So there's him, and then there's Andrew Simmons, who makes all our music, and Robert. So there's been a ton of us who we've all, you know, we have been involved in church. We've worked for church. We volunteered at churches, and we all just have like a different take on everything, you know. We're like, we'll ask each other questions, or we'll be like, why is this way? Right. And then from that will come like an idea, or somebody will ask, like, what is this, and what would that look like if we created a character who believed in this? So we do a bit. We created a fake church called Random Action Verb Church. Yep. Which, listen, is doing mad numbers in terms of engagement that I feel bad for real churches. So that was kind of the brainchild of 3 or 4 of us kind of creating together and kind of going, okay, let's do this. What if we make fake promos? What if we made a fake song called the Worship Song last year? Yep. So it's just a combination of like, okay, if this, then what?
Yeah.
And then just chasing that rabbit
Yeah.
till we see a cliff or something. They're like, all right, let's back up. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was one in particular. I remember the random action verb church one was one that like was really, really hilarious because, and it's funny because I'll be totally honest, like that's one of our churches. It's an action verb in its church. It's Propel Church, and so like it's just it's everywhere, man. And so, but it's so funny. I remember there was this one you recently posted from April Fools, and you're talking about me and my wife are leaving the church. April Fools.
April Fools.
And then, like, there was one thing I caught in it that it was I watched it because I thought like the video itself, surface level, was funny. Yeah. But you did this whole thing where you had a set of glasses on and you took it off to put another set of glasses on,
like real glasses to put on sunglasses.
Yeah. It's little things like that, man. It's so fun. What's probably been that you can think of? What's been your favorite, like, maybe not if it is a favorite video, like what's been your favorite video to create, but then also like the stylistically, is it that like playing a pastor, like a modern day pastor? Is it like what's been your favorite thing of like you look back, you're like, man, that's really, really funny.
First off, let me go back to church names real quick. There's a church in town. It's called Potential Church. I'm like, okay, are they? Will they? Won't they?
Will they?
Will they ever? I don't know. Who knows? So we made a ton of stuff. VeggieTales remix, homeschool anthem, worship song.
Oh yeah,
Chick-fil-A song. Recently, I've been playing a clueless pastor, a clueless older pastor. One video that we did it's called But God, which was inspired by a conversation I had with my father-in-law, who said that he went to a church where a pastor went on a 15-minute tangent on But God and don't ignore the buts, and this is a big butt to remember. So So I pitched that to a friend, and I was like, listen, my father-in-law's been telling me this story for years. I need to do something with it. And so I put on a sweater. I put on a long sleeve and a sweater vest. And then I become this pastor who's like, hold on. He never, it's called a pastor stuck on a verse. And I'm going to put out part 3 here soon. But yeah, I don't know why, but it is so much funny.
Yeah.
And call me narcissistic, but I love to like watch it back. Like once I make it, I'll watch it back and I'm like, man, I really nailed that.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've really, really enjoyed. It's just been like a playground, I'll say, type character where I'm like, I'll just be pacing around the house and I'll be like, pause, meditate on the butt, pause on the butt. Just, and my wife is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm thinking through. I'll just say lines out loud. There's that one thing that I'll say. The one video that I love the most, I'd say, is most likely VeggieTales remix. Is is the song. A few years ago, a friend told me, I was hanging out with a friend. We were working together, and he said, "Have we got a show for you?" In like this very rap style tone.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he's not a rapper. He's a white dude named Brian from.
It's the whitest name there is.
Yeah. He's like from New Jersey, from Rhode Island, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Brian, that sounds really good, man. I had a session with my friend Andrew Simmons, and I was like, dude, I think I want to remix. First of all, I went home and I rewrote. I copied the VeggieTales theme song lyrics from like Google or whatever, and then I put them in a note and I just wrote down just a bunch of. I just wrote the verse. That's it. I just wrote it, and I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't have an instrumental. I just wrote it.
Right.
And I sat with my friend Andrew, and he created this crazy instrumental, and we worked for like 8 months to try to get the video to work and to happen.
Right.
And yeah, when it did, man, it just blew up. That was like that was the weekend that I had to turn off notifications on my phone permanently because
It blew up.
It's
Yeah.
It's just like ruined.
Yeah. Oh
ruined
man.
my Facebook and Instagram.
That one's one I feel like first before I even get into this, I'm gonna have to apologize because I did just say Brian was the whitest name ever, and that's my stepfather's name. so
this is
Brian,
this is an apology to all white Brians everywhere.
White Brians.
And black Brians too. Black, brown Brians. I know a brown Brian. I know a Hispanic Brian. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't need to apologize to my stepdad. He doesn't even know what a podcast is. So
not yet. He's gonna find
yet.
out. This is gonna be his first podcast. And be like,
Yep.
I can't believe my son-in-law insulted me like that.
But the Veggie Tales remix. So I just got married back in March.
Congratulations,
And
man.
thanks, man. It's sick. It's dope. It's nice to be able to like hang out and play ping pong with your best friend at 2:00 in the morning. But
are you used to wearing the ring?
I am now. So I have a wooden ring, and then I have this ring. I like the wooden ring better, but this one like feels a little bit more comfortable. But it's dope. The weirdest adjustment was sleeping in the bed with somebody. That was
oh my gosh,
that was wild. But
let me ask you this? Hold on. Now I'm interviewing you. All right,
Noah?
I'm
down.
So did you find yourself scaring each other just like from being in the room like a lot? Did that happen to you?
Okay. So let's get it. I'll come back to Veggie Tales remix here in a second. We're gonna sit here for a minute. This past Sunday morning. So we get up. So I'm the worship director at our church, and my wife is the kids director. So we get up like 5:30ish in the morning to get to the church. Well, the alarm went off the first time, and I was chilling. I like partially woke up, and then I went over to go like hug her, and then fell back asleep. Well, then her alarm goes off again, and it wasn't the alarm necessarily that set me off, but she jumped like with the alarm, to which I went like flailing. I mean, all over the room and like freaking out, because I was determined somebody broke into the house, and I was gonna have to throw hands. And so like I was freaking out, and then like I recognized and like came to, because it was like that half asleep, half awake. And so I finally like recognized it and was like breathing really hard. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You about got hit." I wasn't a minute at all, but it's wild, man. It's
funny, man.
It's a we're in a pretty good spot now. I say we're in a pretty good spot now. That was just this past Sunday, but
So from this Sunday to today, Thursday, you're in a great spot.
yeah, we've been doing good.
I always think that's so funny as you go from I don't know. Did you have siblings growing up?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you go from siblings where you share a room, and then you're like, I want my own room, and then you have your own room.
Yep.
And then you get married, and all of a sudden there's a whole nother human in the room. Not only that, but a human who hopefully adores you, so is just staring at you and is at the door looking, and you're like, what are you doing? Stop it? Like rounding corners, and you're like, okay, hold on, you gotta yell corner or something. We need some sort of safety system around here.
Yeah. And it's this really weird funny thing now too. Of before it was, I go to bed if I have something like I want some Cheez-Its to take to bed with me, like I just take them to bed, like eat, do whatever. And then now it's like I start to make a noise, and she like, "What are you doing?
What's going on?"
It's like I'm just eating Cheez-Its. I would like to not be criticized right now.
Those are the two questions. I've had this thought for a while. The two, and I've told it on stage before, but I'm gonna say it on this podcast as well to immortalize it. But the two questions that you get asked the most once you get married is, what are you doing? And what do you want to do? Which nobody asks you that. You know, it's like ever since you're a kid, nobody asks you that. But then all of a sudden you're married, like, what are you doing? What do you want to eat? What do you want to do? What are you doing? What do you want to do?
Yep.
What did you do? And you're like, I don't. I never remembered accounting for that stuff before I was married. So now I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. It's so funny, man. And it's one of the really funny things now. Like we do a pretty good job about like the whole struggle of trying to find somewhere to eat. We do pretty good with. We don't have that issue. The really funny thing that we've learned that is great with marriage though, with that is we have an app called Life 360, which like shows your location pretty much. The funny thing was we got it because her family, whenever we were dating, wanted to keep tabs on where we were. Great accountability structure, loved it.
Yeah.
But then we once we got married, we left it. We have our own now, and it's not for any sort of like necessarily accountability or anything. It's just so when they go to pick up food, we can look
can
and we don't have
see.
to ask. We know how long it's going to take them to get back home.
You might have just put me on. Now.
Yeah, Life 360 doesn't pay me, but they should.
No.
I'm gonna send them an invoice. But it's
so funny.
it's dope though, man. But yeah, it's been great. Yeah, we've loved it a ton. But yeah, but anyway, the Veggie Tales, we got off on this whole thing. But
Yes.
the Veggie Tales remix, we were preparing for the wedding, and I was playing through just a bunch of different stuff, and we got to like the dance playlist, like the upbeat dance playlist, and I was like, babe, we both grew up in church, and everyone that comes to this wedding, for the most part, like 90% of them are all church people. If we don't have this remix in the rotation, then it's
it.
and she was like, well, play it for me, and I played it, and it literally got not even like 35 seconds in, and she goes, Yep, we're doing it. So for the wedding, I should like had somebody record it or something. But
so that is probably like the 6th or 7th time that I've heard somebody play that song at a wedding. People like send me videos.
Oh yeah.
Once again, another use I never intended when I opened up Apple Notes in 2018.
It's wild, man. But it's awesome. It to say that was the best part of I won't say it was the best part of the wedding, but everyone seemed the most happiest that was in the room at that part of the wedding. So
that's
you created a moment.
Man.
So. but it's so great.
So funny.
It's so great. But yeah, so you've got all of this stuff. You're administrating a meme page, which is arguably one of the best meme pages on Instagram, Deuteronomemes.
I appreciate it, man.
Who's creating those memes? Are you guys just like creating random stuff and throwing it in a group chat, and then it's like, yep, let's do it? Or how is that working?
There is a group chat. There's also a shared folder of photo album on the iPhone app that we utilize. My friend PD, he is more of the senior pastor of Deuteronomemes. I would say I'm more of a like a deacon. You know, like the deacon who has a bunch of keys and has like the special key to like the AC controller box, plexiglass box.
Yeah,
that's me. That's me. I make sure that the temperature of Deuteronomemes is at a comfortable level.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Man. But that's been super cool. Launching that a few years ago, and then just kind of seeing it go off, and then more than anything, I'll say the best part about that and just creating videos is the comments. Man, it's like comparing notes with thousands, tens of thousands of other Christians around the world.
Right.
You know, so you'll make a joke about I don't know, worship leaders or something.
Yeah.
And then somebody from Singapore be like, hey, that's exactly how it is. And you're like,
right.
How?
Yeah.
Is Christian culture just a combination of like 10 genres of humans? You know what I mean? And you just play that out across the board, and every other culture and language and dialect and continent have that. So that's been super cool, man.
Yeah. It's crazy how relatable all that side of stuff is. And sometimes I think, especially, it's gotten a lot like really, really great that people are very open and very like transparent about stuff, because whenever you pick fun, like I would say like quite a few like years ago, if you would have picked fun at like all these little things about church culture, you'd have people that are going nuts. I'm sure there's people now that are like, you can't do that, you can't make fun of that, but then it's such a funny thing to be able to look back. It's like, bro, our church totally does that, or like and it's really funny. Like it's a great thing that it may seem like a niche market at first, but then in reality, like it's actually pretty broad. Like people relate to it really, really well.
You know, that's the one. We've always tried to come at it, not as much, not insultingly. You know, there are a lot of people who are like, you know, church people are like this, and some people do interpret our content like that. But I think the people who enjoy it the most are people who, are like us, kind of grew up in a church and have noticed like some of our quirks and can laugh at them or have laughed at them. And then you see a video that kind of, relates to that. And you're like, oh, I get that. But yeah, it's been, we stay out of politics. We stay out of like mainstream, a lot of mainstream topics. We won't make jokes about certain things. And at the end of the day, we want people to be able to laugh at an aspect of church, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Which interesting phrase, right? Who was the first person to do that? I don't know. So it's like and I'll tell people all the time. I think some people will see my content and be like, "Man, who hurt you?" Or like, "Are you jaded?" I'm like, I was jaded for a long time, but I love the church now, and I love my church experiences, and I love. The people that I work with now are people that I met through a church. So I'm like, well, how jaded and cynical can I be when my life, my success and my career, my wife are all my family are all people that I in relationships that have come out of a local church. So that's what I'll say is I think I haven't been able to of course the context of Instagram doesn't really, unless you want to make thousands of stories with text on them to kind of explain your theology,
right?
Or I need to make like a Vision Sunday every single year and tell people this is the kind of comedy that I will make, and this is for the reasons why I will make. You know what I mean? So I haven't really come out and said that, but when I'm on podcasts, or on my own podcast, like I let people know, like, hey, like I love the church, I appreciate the church. Church is quirky, has some flaws, but it's relevant. It has been, and my church right now, Greenville Community Church. Shout out to Pastor Michael and Pastor Mike. We've got two Michaels at our church.
Two
believe
Mikes.
it or not. Yeah, and
any white Brians?
No white. I'm pretty sure there are. I haven't met everybody. You could yell Brian in a group of in an ocean of white guys, and you're bound to get at least three.
Yeah.
But we've been going through the book of Corinthians in a series called Beautiful Mess, and I really, really appreciated kind of seeing that, because book of Corinthians is Paul kind of calling out the church, and a lot of it's horrendous sins and quirks and beliefs and stuff. So we'd like to do that. We like to do that now, and like we made a video called Church Card, and the whole premise is like, hey, like what if you had a church rewards card, and just exploring that is kind of like, hey, this is something that would make church easier, air quotes, minus the relationships, minus the awkward greetings, minus the going deep with people and doing air quotes doing life together with people.
Right.
This is the easier way, but it's not the way,
Right.
So we haven't come out and been like, this is the way to do church, is to grow in community together and spiritually. And it's like, no. We want to make fun of this, and hopefully from this you can go, hey, this is not the way. This is
for
the
sure.
end of the spectrum of satire and exaggeration.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I love that, man. And I think it's such a great way to acknowledge it. To then some of it, it's very it is very lighthearted, and there's nothing behind it like malintent or anything. But then there's stuff like you say it, and then it's like, oh, it's actually a great opportunity for me to laugh. And then what can I do moving forward? Like what's something that could actually be
right
to take from it and stuff. But it's definitely you guys execute it in such a great way.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It's really funny, and it's approached well.
I tell people that if we called it a ministry, we could probably get a lot more funding,
right?
And become a nonprofit and do that.
Yeah.
Tour churches and do Christian comedy, but we don't, man.
Yeah.
We don't call it. It is. I will say that it is a ministry, because it is utilized in so many churches, and we're not. We're not like. big curriculum setting out to go, hey, here's a packet of churches, here's a packet of videos for your church to use every Sunday. But we are creating stuff that is being used in that way.
Yeah.
So I 100% believe that it is a ministry that God has been using. The handful, a dozen people here in Greenville we've been creating together. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't know, man. Maybe when I turn, I don't know, 50, I can be like, yo, this is Shama Mrema International Ministries,
When you become a senior pastor.
I'll fly around in a gold-plated jet and and tell jokes like Jesse Duplantis. Hey, that's a deep cut. I don't know if anybody knows Jesse Duplantis, but somebody's gonna text you, okay? Somebody's gonna DM you, gonna go, I can't believe Shama mentioned Jesse Duplantis in 2021.
That's hilarious, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then so you have those things, and then you have the Church Stories podcast.
Yeah,
I just saw a clip as of today when we're filming. You just posted up a video, like a little snippet that I saw of you talking about the difference in some of the co-hosts compared to your DMs, like what DMs you get. it's so funny. It's like talk a little bit to the listener that may not know like what Church Stories podcast is and what you guys kind of do in that space, but it's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, let me finish that. So the joke was, it was a clip from our podcast, and one of our guys, our producer, said, hey, a couple of people, some fans of the show, have like DM'd me and been like, hey, Chase, what's up? And I was like, Chase, that's, of course, girls DM you, but people who DM me are old people. And all they say is like, young man, the power of God of comedy is upon you. You will go very far, which I get a lot of those DMs like, young man, you have made me laugh tremendously, and I appreciate your ministry. And I'm like, okay, sorry, man, I appreciate it, thank you. So we've been doing Church Stories, man, since 2017. I don't even remember. That was a PD and I brainchild that started in his family's basement. We would have guests like come in and like go circle around the backside of their house to record in their basement, and now we have a studio in the upper room of a church. So yeah, that's been super, super cool, man, and the clips have been awesome, and it's just fun, man.
Yeah,
we wanted to create something timeless, something that people could go back and listen through that wasn't tied to news or time or whatever. And we do mention I don't know, some specific stuff here and there, birthdays, and I think I got married in between one of the seasons, and I was like, hey, well, I'm getting married soon, and then after, and I'm like, hey, I'm married now, and then I'm like, hey, my wife and I are pregnant, so I need to go back through and listen. But it's been awesome, man, just to talk to people and talk about their church experiences. And we've had missionaries and former pastors and musicians and rappers and comedians and influencers, and we had preachers and sneakers on. So it's been
big
it's
preachers
been awesome.
and sneakers fan.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's so sick. And it's good too, man, because it's stuff like that I think people who may not have grown up in church or don't necessarily have that background or may have been hurt by the church, sometimes people can forget, like, there's great stories from actually growing up. Like, there's people talk about church being life-giving. Like, yes, it's life-giving in the nature of the services, experience stuff, like that's great, but then just the really funny stories of you got together with a bunch of guys and went to some sort of cookout and somebody did something crazy things like that are like so funny to like not only have those experiences but to hear from other people that they have. Like in Greenville, South Carolina, you guys have had similar experiences to like in North Carolina of just really, really funny stuff, and like it's like that's the type of stuff that's fun to like sit down and listen to no matter like your background, because it's just super enjoyable.
I think too, the church is kind of a bubble, right? Like when you're around church people, I'm not saying that in like a negative way, but when you go out with your church friends, you are talking about church experience, or when you go to like church camp or a conference, you talk about other conferences and other things that happened at other times, in your church experience. So I guess it's very mid '60s of us to be like, let's get around, very like Bill. It's a Bill Gaither type beat, I guess you could say, for us to be like, let's just sit around and talk about the good old days and the bad old days too.
Yep.
So yeah, one of my favorite stories from church stories is we had a guy on who worked for, I think, TBN in some capacity back when they did gigantic Jesus theater plays, and he said he was working like backstage. He was like doing tech for one of these huge, I mean, thousands of people in the audience, and they had like hundreds of talent and cast members running around and the biblical outfits.
Yeah.
And they said they had a Jesus who was not saved. It was just a guy who looked like Jesus. Ironic, right? And so they had two types of spears when they did the the piercing Jesus' side. They had like a rubber tip spear, and then they had a real spear.
Oh no!
And so you already know where the story's going.
Oh yeah.
So they're doing the whole scene as Jesus. He starts off, he's doing miracles. He gets caught, as Judas betrays him. He's on the cross. They hoist him up, they hoist the actor who plays Jesus up. And the guy who's the Roman soldier goes to stab Jesus, and I guess mixed up the spears in the back.
No.
And just shanks Jesus with the real tip spear. And Jesus, who was mic'd up, rolls his head and goes, "Oh, S word." and the guy said, I don't remember what he said, like how it. He just said everybody was just kind of like, "Dang, Jesus cussed." Man,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people were like, "Man, this is really good acting. Like that looks like real blood."
Wow. Jesus is really selling that. So I was probably one of the most. We tell stories kind of like that. That's one of my favorite that I think about a lot, just because it's kind of like, where else is that guy telling that story? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. He's probably just telling people like, I don't know, like over dinner or something somewhere at Waffle House. But we're like, no, tell that here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna blast it online.
Yep. We've got the co-hosts that I normally have with me. They had some things going on tonight, but one of them I grew up with in youth group. Like the previous church we went to, like we went there for forever, and then we go to church together now. And we were just having a conversation yesterday about just reminiscing like church people do, and talking about like we got on the whole topic of whenever you go on a big youth trip and you rent the vans and stuff, like you would shove however many people in the van, and you'd like find creative ways to sleep inside of the van, and then you wonder like why so many of us have scoliosis now.
Oh my gosh.
why we're having back issues at 22,
Just because you rode in a van, which the seats, I don't even think they didn't even recline. I'm pretty sure they kind of like, there wasn't even a 90-degree. It was probably closer to like almost like a comfortable 80, a comfortable 70, where you can't really put your back up to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I go to a chiropractor now, like monthly, and now I don't know, man. I'm almost 30, so I'm just in maintenance mode. I'm like, hey, look, what things can I do to prolong this baby, my body? I need this puppy to get as many miles as possible.
Yep. I remember the church we had grown up in. You think back, like, and I'm sure like you guys have talked about it in your pocket, but like you think back to things that you did in youth group or in church that was just like you look on now and like how that's like borderline like almost illegal.
Oh my gosh.
Like if any church thought about doing it, like I remember we would do we used to have lock-ins, which already that's
honestly the concept of a lock-in, the fact that they were so popular, how?
Yeah, I have no idea.
They were never staffed appropriately.
No.
Tell me one lock-in that had the appropriate, like, what is it, 1 to 10 ratio of staff to students?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember you have the positives of them and you have the negatives of lock-ins. So I still talk about this to this day. Of one of the greatest memories I have of a lock-in was we had 2 levels in the kids facility. There was the lower level where the gym and some classrooms were. Then you had the upper level where it was just like Sunday school classrooms. And then you would have one person with like the soft dodgeballs down at the bottom, and they would count to like 45 seconds or something like that. But everybody would be upstairs and like hiding in the classrooms, and they would come out and like you could run around, do whatever, but then like whoever was the last person to get hit got to be the person. So you're just going around and you have one person going against like 20 people trying to peg them with dodgeball. And you're like knocking over the room number signs and like breaking the like little paper holders and stuff. I'm like, I don't know how we got away with that, but we got away with it and nobody ever said anything. But
dude,
that's the positive. But
I remember one, we did a lock-in, which I'm pretty sure the church that I was at, they banned lock-ins after this, or they banned drinks in the youth area, because they had like the like the sound booth or whatever in the back of the I don't know, like the youth room, I guess.
Yeah.
So people would they had this weird like wood panel thing, like this flat thing, so to kind of hide the, I don't know, not hide, but like the soundboard, it was just kind of covered. It was just like a lip, really, almost like just like a wooden cover that went around it. And people we'd always set drinks up there, so if like somebody was in there, you just set a drink. And one night it was just open lid white cups, of ice and Mountain Dew or whatever sugary poison we were drinking that night. And somebody bumped it. Somebody set their drink up there and bumped it, and it just went all over the board and just fried it. Fried it.
No.
So, man, the senior pastor and youth pastor, they were not happy because they had to fork out like $10,000 to buy another board.
Right.
And
oh gosh.
I don't remember who was responsible, but I was like, I wasn't there. I'm sorry.
They weren't there that next Sunday, and there was probably a reason why.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah. I remember the one that I just don't understand how it ever passed. And like I remember there was a season at the church I'm on staff at now where like I was a volunteer, like chaperone for students, stuff like that. And I'm thinking this would never go down ever again. But we had one of those lock-ins, and we did like I don't know how you do it. It's like hide and seek, but all the lights are off.
Yeah.
It is pitch black. And it's literally like, for me, I was like the good Christian kid, and like I would actually go play hide and seek. But you knew that was like when the juniors and seniors went to go like make out in a different classroom, and like it's like how did we ever think that was like okay back in the day? Like nobody questioned it. Nobody like sat down with the youth pastor and was like, this is a bad idea.
Now there are enough people to be like, excuse me. This sounds like a front page of the news.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's crazy interesting. I mean, honestly, I don't think people always mention our podcast, Church Stories, as if we have like the monopoly on church stories. But I'm like, no. If somebody has an idea, if somebody wants to tell other church stories on another podcast, please do so.
Yeah.
We can't cover them all.
Yeah.
So, we probably need to franchise it out.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
We need to pull a McDonald's, and we're going to do church stories Sweden, whatever that would look like.
Yeah. That's so great, man.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff, and I really I love that with your content. Like it very much, man. Like it's something that people like myself, like that you can relate to, that you can like really, really connect with. But like you said, I mean, it's not like necessarily some overly hyped spiritual thing, but I mean, it does open up opportunity for you to be able to actually create ministry for people and create conversation, create dialogue. And I think that's such an incredible thing, man. And from my perspective, it's cool to see, like, for you, it wasn't necessarily that you ever desired or ever envisioned it to get to the level that it is and impact that it is, but it's something that is authentically you, and then it's authentically the people that are around you. And it shows like how cool it is that God uses stuff like that, how like God created and uniquely designed you.
Yeah.
And it's not that you had to overly spiritualize it or anything. It's just, hey, this is something fun that we enjoy doing, and it's the way God wired me. And so you just do it, and then it just works, man. And it's cool to see stuff like that, dude.
That's one thing that I will say, and I've mentioned it a couple of times this year, that I got a job working for a church. Like I went to Bible college for 4 years, 5 years. I took a year off. Sorry, super Christians, super Bible college graduates.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do ministry.
Yeah.
I wanted to do ministry, and I volunteered at a church, and then they hired me as youth pastor, and it wasn't a good fit. I was a round peg in a square hole. Or vice versa, however you want to put it, man. It didn't work, and that was painful to me for a long time, because I grew up a pastor's kid, a pastor missionary's kid. I went to Bible college. I volunteered at this church for about 5 or 6 years. And so I thought, well, I just want to continue serving. I want to continue to be here. And as the relationship, kind of strained, and I was voluntarily let go, I remember feeling, very hopeless for a long time, just because I thought, I wanted to do ministry. This is how I do ministry. How else am I going to do ministry? And then, circle back to, fast forward to today, whole almost 5 years later now, we've made stuff that has been seen so many places,
right?
And I've been to so many different places, and we're having this podcast right now, all because of content that I've made.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a couple of dates this summer of some conferences and some places where people are like, "Hey, can we fly you to Omaha?" And I'm like, sure. You're like, yeah, for sure. I've never been, but sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's so cool that, and I'll just say that just to encourage everybody. No, but seriously, I do want to encourage people, man. I think for a long time, I grew up grew up understanding that the best way that I could serve God was in the four walls, right? Like in the four walls of the church, do air quotes ministry. But I've met so many people who are creatives, who worked for church or who have not worked for church, but are doing so many great things on the outside. And I'm kind of like one of them now. So like, I don't know, be encouraged, be encouraged in a way. If a cool, great paying church position man, has anybody ever said that in the same sentence? A great paying church position?
That's what that's why we talk about on our staff. All of us have side hustles. I'm telling you.
Oh man, somebody should make a church employee side hustle app. Free idea. Just credit me. Let's collab.
Our lead pastor, man, he's the king of side hustles, and he's talked about he's got his own podcast. I'll jump on from time to time, but he has like episodes of talking about like how to leverage side hustles in ministry. He's like, I just need to make my own like leveraging side hustles podcast of just his own separate thing.
But I mean, that's. I set out, I think if you would have told me like 5-6 years ago, hey, this is where you're going to be in 2021, at your home office talking to Noah. I've been like, wait a second, what do I do for work? Oh, I just work from home,
right?
And I just create for people, and I produce and direct videos, podcasts. How? But kind of being here now, it's crazy, and I'm extremely thankful.
That's awesome.
For for everybody who gave me a shot in ministry and let me mess around and make mistakes, and pick up a camera and edit bad videos and do whatever. So it all kind of led to here. So I'm very excited, man.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. I love that. And for the person that's listening that has seen your stuff or maybe hasn't and would go to check it out, and they're interested in doing some sort of that endeavor. They want to kick off a podcast. They want to create content. They want to do whatever, but they don't entirely know the first step. They can't just jump in. Like, they have great audio and great visual record.
Yeah.
Like they don't have all the bells and whistles of it.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person to, like kickstart them to say, hey, like here's a next step? Like what would be that encouragement for them?
There's a I'm gonna pull. This is what older people do. Or you'll ask them a question and then they'll give you a quote. So I'm gonna do that. This my father-in-law does that. Shout out to Mark Todd, who I don't know if he'll listen, but I'm gonna pull a Mark Todd. There's a famous ancient Chinese quote that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 200 years ago, and the second best time is now."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like start now. I think there's a big push of like, oh, well, I don't have the people and I don't have the gear.
Yeah.
And man, the people will find you.
Yeah.
Those relationships will come, and the gear and the knowledge on how to use it will follow as well.
Right.
So yeah, I think a lot of people kind of set out, or people will hop on set with us and they'll see all of everything that we do and the favors that we pull and the people who are on there, and they're like, dude, I need to get that person and that person and that person to do a thing for me. And it's kind of like, well, yes, but also what you're not saying, so you're saying the tip of the iceberg. What you're not saying is years of collaboration and friendship and meals and just kind of hanging out. It kind of creates this creates the teamwork that you see on set. So yeah, man, I mean, start small, start however. YouTube is your best friend.
Yep.
Watch videos. When you have friends who will work with you and collaborate with you, treat them well. Feed everybody really well. That's another thing that I'll say. If you're going to create stuff, that's my one rule. If you come on set on a project that we're on, I'm going to feed you really well. If I can't feed you on set, we're going to go out to eat, and you're not going to touch the bill. So yeah, man. I think that's it, man. It's just a combination of working hard, doing all the things that I guess other people would kind of shy away from. Right. Specifically for this stuff, it's what you're doing. It's like the editing, the producing, the DMing Shama, who doesn't respond back in time and misses the first recording day. Which I still apologize for.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
It's stuff like that. It's all those things kind of lead to lead to creating, and then a few years later, you'll find yourself, in a whole different place with a group of different creators who are maybe the same people that you kind of came up with, or who you met along the way, and you have gear that you now know how to use and are comfortable with, and you're just better. You're better for it, man. I think this is one of those things that you can't hack your way into it.
100%.
It just kind of takes time, and I don't know if it takes time for you to be better, or for you to let me repeat that. I don't know if it takes time for you to get better, or for your expectations and your ambition to get a little lower,
Right. Yeah.
So it's a combination of the two. You come into it, you're like super bright-eyed, and you want to do everything, and you want to pick up a camera, and that's where I was. But now I have all the gear, and I have all the resources and all the people on a computer and all this other stuff. But I'm like, I want to make great stuff, so I find myself like slowing down a little bit. And I'm like, we'll have time to create or whatever. So yeah. It's a either way, man. It's a good place to be in. So create, man. Create. Yeah. Don't stop. Have a great attitude. Meet people. Trust them. Take advice. And you're not going to be proud of anything that you made a year from now. That's the most important part. As part of getting better is a year from now, you're going to look back and be like, that was garbage. That's a feeling that we all face.
Right. Yeah. That's huge, man. But yeah. Once again, dude, like, thank you so much for coming and like taking the time and just sitting and chatting with me, man. And like, it's really exciting to be able to get feedback and hearing your perspective on things that, even for me, I may not have a ton of experience or hand in, but I know like there's somebody that's listening that's that wants to go in that trajectory and is inspired by something you said. And there's a lot that you had there that was really, really great, like even for me personally. But man, like really appreciative that you would take the time and just chat it up with me about random stuff.
Dude,
So,
absolutely, man. Like, I think I'll say the Christian culture, man. We need. I want to say this politely, but Christian movies, Christian music doesn't really have a good connotation.
Yeah,
You know, Christian
100%.
comedy.
Yeah.
All these different elements, and I think there is a big push now, or just like a turning of a page of people who are like, hey, let's be great, let's do great.
Yeah.
Let's not make stuff that's lackluster because the Spirit of God is upon us and it's anointed. No, let's focus on making great music and great content. And I think the from that excellence, God is glorified.
Yeah.
And you know, it's appreciated.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, it's appreciated. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I hire a guy who's an atheist who comes and works on videos for us. He's our sound guy.
Yeah.
He's an atheist, but you know, he loves our crew and our team and the stuff that we do. So even that is just like such a cool example. Even the people who watch this stuff all the time, you'll be like, well, I'm not a Christian, but I love this.
Yeah.
And I think, wow, that is okay. Let's do more of this. You
Yeah.
know, let's do more of this.
Right.
Our talent. There's a great quote that I heard is, you know, other people have talent. You know, my talent is talent plus hard work. And I'd say
Yeah.
the same thing for me. It's like, you know, I have talent and like luck, but I'm like, hey, I need that and hard work as well.
Yeah.
And I think from that hard work and from podcasts like this, where we can talk about creating, and talk about marriage, right, and scaring the crap out of each other, and then also talk about being good Christians and creating from that mindset.
Right.
And then also doing it well. I think
Right.
I think we need that, man. And Church Stories podcast exists because of that, and Creative Corner exists because of that. And I think I'm seeing more of it, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see, you know, a lot of young people, young Christian people, not abandoning the church or church culture to pursue air quotes secular jobs.
Yeah.
But to kind of go, hey, let's kind of grow where we're planted. You know, let's make the most of it here, and let's show people that it's good to be here. It's good to have a church upbringing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas opposed to in the past, it was like, hey, you can't really want to. No, it's like no. It's we're better for it, and we can create.
Yeah. That's
we
huge,
can create stuff, and we know our people, and it's really good, man.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that, man. But yeah, just for the listener, before we sign off, would love for you to just let people know, how can they stay connected with you? What's the best ways, like social wise, everything like that? How can people stay connected with your content?
Okay, I guess we referenced Church Stories podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you're a podcast listener. So
Especially
make sure that
if you're
you
this
keep
far
on.
into it.
You would hope, right? Make sure you keep on listening to Creative Corner, and then also check out Church Stories podcast. Every Tuesday, we're on episode 127. So many years of just laughs and talking about church and everything in between. Deuteronomemes, it's a meme page on Instagram. My personal Instagram, Shama, 4 Reels with a Z. And then same handle, Shama, 4 Reels on TikTok too. That's where I'm at. And then also after school program on YouTube. That's where we put our all of our content that's in 4K or 1080 horizontally. If you want to see it in all its 4K glory, you can go see it there, as opposed to the crunched vertical version on Instagram or TikTok.
That's awesome, man. But yeah, thank you so much again, man, for jumping on, and look forward to what you have coming up, and just keeping up with your content. I love your content.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, who knows, you may be boxing Floyd Mayweather in the future soon.
Oh, me? Hey, listen. Honestly, Christian creators. I kind of complimented everybody, but I'm gonna I'm gonna take some of that back and go. I'm not gonna be satisfied until we have Christian content creator versus Christian content creator boxing matches. All right,
Yes.
that's what we need to get into. I want to see me box John Christ on pay-per-view. And that should get 70 million views.
Yep.
And then I should lose.
Yep.
But I still make a ton of money. So
Yep.
I'm like
It's a
laughing.
win-win.
I'm like laughing as I leave the ring, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I got knocked out.
Wipe your
Yeah.
tears with the cash flow. That's all you gotta do. Yeah.
But the cash flow is also just Lifeway Christian Bookstore credit. It's just an obscene amount. It's like 500,000 Lifeway bucks or whatever they call it.
That's so great. I love that, dude. But yeah, man, bro, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me once again, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, look forward to just kind of keeping up with what you got going on. Know that
Thank
you got supporters. I know the co-hosts weren't on today, but you got 3 weird white kids in North Carolina that are keeping up with all your stuff. So,
Well, the co-hosts who ignored me and couldn't make it, there's a black weird guy in South Carolina who's also keeping up with you guys too.
that's great, man. Boy, thank you again, man. And yeah, just to close out, thank you guys so much for listening into the podcast today, man. Be sure to subscribe and just keep up with everything going on. Be sure to keep up with Shama and everything they have going on over there in their space. And yeah, just thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure, if you want to support the channel, go head over to you can go over to my website, to noahcblack.com/store, and then you can purchase some apparel and stuff over there that we've created. And so just be sure, if you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it there. And yeah, we thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.